Bennett,
Here.
Bertino,
Here.
Corsi,
Present.
Days,
Here.
Fitzpatrick,
Here.
Kern,
Here.
Risley,
Here.
and Gatto.
Here. Before we begin, Board, I would ask that we please take a moment of silence and honor former Mayor Bill Mangles from Hamilton Township, who passed away this Sunday. Thank you. Okay, you've all had an opportunity to review the minutes from December 4th, 2018. If there are no corrections, I will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Formica, Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. Before we go to ordinance number 1, wanted to see if the board would be in favor of moving resolution 40 to the top of today's agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Resolution number 40.
Resolution of remembrance of firefighter Natalie Dempsey, sponsored by Richard R. Days and Ernest D. Corsi.
Move. Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments.
Rich.
Of course, it was your idea that that the board, I guess, publicly recognize Natalie Dempsey. And it was a tremendous service that Freeholder Corsi, Freeholder Gatto, myself, and I'm not sure if anyone attended after, was able to attend, but we had first responders from all over South Jersey and surrounding states come and pay their respects. And Freeholder Corsi and I have talked about in some other way naming something in the county, if we can, in her honor and her memory as well. But I did ask the family to come here. Her mother and her uncle are here today for us to, I guess, just publicly acknowledge her service to her community and to let you know that the county does offer its deepest sympathies as well.
In the process, when you talk in terms of County Executive Levinson was also in attendance.
It was, thank you for letting me forget that.
Yeah, and to our shock that he stayed as long as he did, but he was there. But wanted to make sure we acknowledge him. We certainly give our condolences to the family. Not only did you lose a daughter and a niece, but I am sure that this firefighters and first responders has lost indeed a good friend, and that in some small way, we just wanted to let it know that we did not just wanted to pass by and not acknowledge her and what she's done in this community. And as I said to Freeholder Day, at some point in time, we've asked them for some suggestions from the family. What would you like to see in her memory? I thought about the road where it happened, but apparently that's not a county road. So whatever decision you guys get with Rich and get with the county and see what we can do to memorialize it in some small way, but understanding that she will not be forgotten. You know, I come from a family of 12. I tell a story sometime, and I lost 2 sisters in a fire. And 4 of my brothers and a nephew decided they wanted to go in the fire service. And thank God they were 3 out of the 4 have been able to retire so far. And their theory was always been to my mother, and they wanted to make sure in 25 years they were going home and they did not want to be caught in a situation. And it is a rough, risky job, and volunteering and giving your service, going to help others. You just never know when you have to answer that call. But I thought that would be some small way we could just let you know that our prayers and our thoughts are continuing to be with you. And let me just say this in closing. I've been to a lot of services, but I have never seen the cry, the pour out of support from all over who stood out there for hours. First of all, it was the right thing to do, but more importantly, that people, didn't think it was robbery. Whether you were a volunteer, whether you were a paid firefighter or a first responder, etc., people came because it was the right thing to do. And it says a lot about your daughter and your niece, and it says a lot about the community in which they serve in this capacity of public servant and the line of duty. And what a beautiful, I hate to use that word, but what a beautiful send-off It was heart moving, but just the fact that people would stand that long. Most folks show up, leave, they want to be seen to go home, but folks stayed because it was the right thing to do. And so I reached out to my colleague and thought that it would be the right thing. I thought this board would also feel the same exact way.
Just want to also acknowledge Chief Davenport from MISPA is also here. Chief and I went to school together and have been in public service together for a long time. And Chief, I know through all of this, it's been very daunting for you and firefighters as well that Natalie served with. And I think you've been the epitome of Mitzvah strong over the last several weeks, and honestly the last 18 months, having to deal with 3 deaths in your firehouse in the last 18 months or so. So thank you for being here and for continuing to be a beacon of light for everyone during this dark time. We're just honored to have you all here today and to honor Natalie. So with that, I think we'd like to have you guys come on up and receive a resolution. Do you want it read into the record?
Do you want it done in the record?
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, read it.
Yes.
Again, just, I think Clerk's going to read this into the record, but I just want to, I think part of the outpouring of support just is a reflection also on the family. I've known the family for pretty much my entire life, and I mean, what you saw is a reflection of what they've given to the community, and the community is there and will be there as well.
Fine, go ahead.
Resolution of remembrance of Natalie Dempsey. Whereas Natalie Dempsey lost her life in a tragic single-vehicle accident on Landis Avenue, Mays Landing, on Christmas Day 2018, while responding to a house fire as a member of the Mitzvah Volunteer Fire Company, and whereas though only 20 years old and 5 feet 2 inches in height, Natalie Dempsey left powerful memories with her family, friends, co-workers, and acquaintances as a woman with a heart full of love and a plan to work for her community. And whereas as a member of the Mitzvah Volunteer Fire Company, Natalie Dempsey had risen to the position of Vice President after only a few years of service, and whereas as a lover of animals, Natalie Dempsey was employed at the Atlantic County Humane Society as a supervisor and was working to attend the police academy to pursue her hopes of becoming a K-9 officer so she could merge her love of community service with her love of animals. And whereas lovingly referred to by her fire company as their baby girl, Natalie Dempsey will always be remembered for her caring smile, warmth, and wonderful sense of humor. And whereas the Dempsey family, the Mitzvah Volunteer Fire Company, and the community at large suffered a great loss with the death of Natalie Dempsey, and whereas a life celebration held at Apsigami High School was attended by nearly 1,000 firefighters and first responders, and was symbolized by the Mitzvah fire truck bearing the emblem Mitzvah Strong in her honor. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Atlantic that it joins with others in remembrance of a beautiful life cut too short. And be it further resolved that this board does hereby convey their deepest sympathy on the passing of Natalie Dempsey.
I just want to thank everybody in the county that's involved in helping us prepare Natalie's service. I knew that there was going to be a huge turnout due to the first responder family and trying to figure out where we were going to hold this. But I was, I wanted to make it perfect for Natalie and for my sister and brother-in-law and Natalie's brothers. I wanted to make it as perfect as we could. I started to stress. I reached out to Rich, knowing he might be able to have some contacts with the schools. And through Rich and Amy contacted me, I think it was 11 o'clock at night. And from that point, everything just moved, and they weren't going to stop until we were able to square away a location and to make it perfect for us. The night before the services, we were trying to gather bottles of water and snacks and stuff because we knew it was going to be a few hours long. We wanted to make sure everybody that was attending had something to drink, had some snacks while they're waiting. Rich, I don't know how many texts might going back and forth between myself, my mom, and him, and it just made it happen. And we had so much within an hour from having nothing to having abundance, and we were able to donate some of the stuff back to the fire companies, to the school. So I want to thank everybody that had a part in this, and everything you guys have done for this, for my niece and my sister here.
Thank you, all of you, Susan.
We thank you for bringing an incredible person to our community. She will not be forgotten. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So we're going to move on with the rest of our agenda. You can feel free to stay or go, but I recommend going. Thank you again for joining us today. See you, Chief.
Another meeting.
I do think we actually need to finalize the vote on that, so we had a motion, we had a second, we've had discussion. Oh, okay, roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Okay, now we'll go on to the rest of our agenda, starting with ordinance number 1.
An ordinance to vacate and abandon an existing site triangle easement across block 1401, lot 2.01 in the township of Egg Harbor, first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. The comments will be open to the public on second reading. Any freeholder comments on this at the moment? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
First reading, yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution number 12.
Grant application to the State of New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice, Office of Insurance Fraud Prosecutor for the County Prosecutor Insurance Fraud Reimbursement Program in the amount of $210,250.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Any comments from the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution number 13.
Grant application to the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation for fiscal year 19 local bridge funding program for the replacement of Nakoti Creek Bridge in the city of Port Republic in the amount of $2,344,628.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution number 14.
Grant application and acceptance funding from Impact International and Mayor for the Impact Mayor 2019 Education Fund for post-secondary training and education for job placement in the amount of $20,000.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Yes.
I just want to say that I'm happy to see this resolution, that we continue in our administration to find these. This is a new grant, and it's to help our initiatives in our workforce development. We also have another one on tonight's agenda for an interlocal services agreement for job training as well. And at the same note, we found out, I believe it was this week, that we have another grant that, and I totally commend Howard Kyle and our administration. It's $100,000 for the development of the operational plan for the aviation maintenance and technical schools. So this is, a big part of our goals moving forward, working towards job and job growth in Atlantic County.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other freeholder comments? Any comments from the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution number 15.
Grant application and acceptance funding from the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety for the SART FNE program, funded amount $86,902, county in-kind match $21,726.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments?
Yes.
Freeholder Fitzpatrick.
I just want to say how important this grant is. The sexual assault response team and the forensic nurse examiners do a very important job responding to victims of sexual assault, taking care of them. They're the first responders there. And I also just want to note that this amount of $180,000 hasn't really changed in about 10 years. And it would be great if the state could give us some more money toward that project because those nurses work really hard and do an important job.
Great comment. Any other freeholder comments? Any comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 16.
Amended professional services agreement with Carini Appraisal Company, Inc. under the 2017-2018 appraisal services pool to extend the term only, no additional costs.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 17.
Amended professional services agreement with Remington and Vernick Engineers for engineering and design services associated with the design of bicycle infrastructure in Margate City and Ventnor City to extend the term date only, no additional cost.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Seeing none, any members of the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 18.
Renewal agreement with the South Jersey Transportation Authority for the provision of community shuttle services along the Route 40 and Route 54 corridors, amount not to exceed $150,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 19.
Professional services contract with sexual assault nurse examiners for the sexual assault response team, total amount not to exceed $717.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 20.
Alternate method contract with Dr. Nazar Boré to provide chemotherapy and cancer-related treatment to inmates of the Atlantic County Justice Facility, amount not to exceed $79,282.
Motion.
Motion and a second
Second.
and a second. Any freeholder comments? Any comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution number 21.
Renewal competitive contract with Center for Family Services for the provision of client-specific services, amount not to exceed $1,000.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 22.
Amended competitive contract with Center for Family Services for the provision of community treatment for adolescent sex offenders and client-specific services, net decrease $15,750.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 23.
Professional services agreements with various engineers to establish a pool of professional consultants to provide engineering services on an as-needed basis for various dam and transportation infrastructure 2019 projects. Aggregate total not to exceed $6,700,000.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Just want to say myself that there's an extensive list there of projects that we're going to be working on this year, and I think the residents will be happy with kind of where they are and the needs and things that need to be addressed. So good work in putting that whole list together. Any comments from the public? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 24.
Renewal competitive contract with Royal Printing Service for the provision of election ballot services for the 2019 elections, amount not to exceed $138,000.
Moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Any comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 25.
Professional services contracts with various counselors and nurses provide substance abuse services for the 12-hour and 48-hour IDRC, amount not to exceed $35,568.
Motion.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Oh, I'm sorry, Freeholder Bertino.
Just, it's what we do, we need it, so.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 26.
Interlocal services agreement with Atlantic Cape Community College for the provision of energy training programs under the Atlantic City Electric Initiative, amount not to exceed $16,000.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? This is one you were speaking
Yeah,
of,
this one
Vice
was
Chairman. Yes. Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 27.
Bid contract with various vendors to furnish and deliver inmate uniforms and supplies to the Atlantic County Justice Facility in the amount of $46,616.80.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Freeholder Fitzpatrick?
Just, again, this year disappointed that no New Jersey vendors cared to bid on this, and we have to send this money out of state. Very disappointing. That's all.
Thank you. Any other freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 28.
Change order number 1, contract with Royal Printing Service for 2018 printing of ballots. Net increase $35,478.72.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public?
Madam Chairman,
Yes. Freeholder Corsi.
through you to Administrator, 24 and 28
Right,
are the same company.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Then they come back with a change order, right? For 35 and some change. Last year, and I stand to be corrected, it seems like every year they get a contract and on the same agenda, we giving them a change order. Is this, are we missing something in there?
Now, this change order is based on the fact that the federal legislation changed, which required everybody who had a mail-in vote from 216 to get a letter basically telling them that if you got a mail-in ballot, this letter that went out to them said, you have to contact us to come vote in public, or you're gonna get another mail-in ballot. They sent out like 5,100 of these letters. They only got 800 responses, which this has nothing to do with the printing company. It has everything to do with
The
the
letters
process. So they had to send out 800 from 5,100, 4,300 of these mail-in ballots, and they had to get provisional ballots because if anybody decided not to vote by mail-in, they had to do the provisional ballot. So that was the cost. And so they, meaning the clerk's office, had to order those mail-in ballots, the additional mail-in ballots, as well as the additional provisional ballots.
Madam Chair, thank you, Jerry, for that backup information, because
Yeah.
I've got to tell you that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all, that was the biggest, and I don't want to call it a scam, but it was the biggest disappointment
Yes.
to send that stuff out, and most folks were still going to the ballot trying to vote
Yep.
when this thing came in the mail. I mean, if I request it, I get it, and then their theory is, well, you requested it last year, so we're gonna automatically send it to you. Well, last year I just haven't been out of the country, I'm not out this year. But look at the return on it. If it was 5,100 and only 800 replied, we gotta find another way. And we can't wait till the week of, because I got one in the mail, and I'm like, wait, I never voted absentee.
Right.
It
Think
was
about it.
2016 that they went back to.
Yeah.
2016?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 2016.
I don't
It was a mail-in.
recall him voting absentee, but I could have, but I don't recall it. But the funny part about it is that it was a waste because a lot of people either didn't pay no attention or allegedly somebody took it out of their mailbox.
Or
Right.
they threw it away. Or they threw it away.
Or they threw it away.
Yeah.
So we've got to figure out a way. I mean, it's not our fault, but it's the feds. Some kind of way it's got to be dealt with because it's at the taxpayers' expense. And people saying, well, I didn't ask for a ballot. And then, like you said, they go to the polling place trying to vote, and now they're frustrated because they got to get a provisional ballot, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, we've got to pay for it, but I think there's got to be some kind of way that the Ds, the Rs, and the Is can all get together and tell the feds it doesn't work because 5,100.
This was the state. I don't think it was federal.
Right.
Well, let me take you one step
State
further.
of
The
New
reason why the 2019 number isn't higher, which is the one you just voted on, 24. I called them, they asked them, why, you already know that you had the $35,000 in 2018. How come you're not anticipating that? Because they don't have any federal slots on the ballot this year. So therefore, they don't have to worry about sending out that letter again. So that's the issue. I mean, I'm only telling you what they told me.
They were
about.
so,
I
they
asked the
were
same
more
question.
concerned about the Fed stuff than it was the
It
state
was a
stuff.
federal legislation is the way they explained it to me. I mean, I defer to council. I just spoke with the clerk's office and asked their assistant clerk who sends in the material for the request for resolution for this, so I called him specifically.
Yeah, I don't think it matters whose fault it was, but it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and it needs to improve, to your point, freeholder court safety. Any other freeholder comments on that?
It's just, again, it's just another unfunded mandate for the state.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe they wouldn't, I guess I can believe it because the state doesn't have any money, but appropriate funding, if it's gonna cause an impact on the local budgets. I mean,
Any other freeholder comments?
Well, you send a message by voting no, but anyway.
Creed, I did see another hand over here. Paul, did you?
I appreciate the opportunity.
Can you
Madam
state your
Chairman.
name for the record?
Paul Rosenberg, Egg Harbor Township. Perhaps I'm missing something, but why wouldn't the $35,000 come out of the revenues generated by the clerk's office, or have been part of the funding request in last year's budget by the clerk's office or the deputy clerk, or whoever's in charge of it, before coming up as a request from the general county fund here? If it was state or federal, depending on which is correct, I don't know. It still didn't happen last month, so why wasn't the clerk prepared for this? They certainly knew how many ballots had to go out, how many times they had to print material for each one of those residents. And why is there nobody here to explain from the clerk's office?
Well, so when we say the state, it's, as an example, the Office on Aging is federally funded, but it always comes through the state, because the federal funds go through the state, so who's giving the message is the state. But it was federal legislation, so we need to understand that. In my conversations with the clerk's office, I mean, I can't explain why they're not here, but I can say this, the way it was explained to me was that the legislation had passed, I'm not sure whether prior to or whatever, but they were not given the direction. Clerk's offices were not given a direction until after the budget season had ended. So that's why, because I asked that question, why didn't we do this during budget? They were not notified that they had to do this until well after the budget had passed. So they had no idea that this was going to be a budget item. So.
But the other thing, Madam Clerk, if I may, all due respect to the clerk's office, if they wasn't requested to be here,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't take a shot at them if they wasn't requested to be here, but it raised a good point. But again, state mandate, we pass it off to the taxpayers every chance they get. They tell you what they want you to do, but they don't fund anything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm certainly willing for us to get some of those answers and, potentially send a letter up, kind of explaining the impact that we're seeing from a dollar amount perspective. Asking them not to.
because it is very clear for 5,100 people,
Yeah,
and only 800 come back, what they tell you?
yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Creed Pogue, Estelle Manor. First, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Also, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
A few different parts. One is, I think that we would find from a study of the official results that actually the number of vote by mail, the new term, was actually higher this year than it has been in any other midterm. Certainly was higher than last year, year before now, I should say, 2017 with the gubernatorial. So it's kind of, I think, a measure of, are we looking at the overall number, are we looking at particular pieces of it, and certainly in any process there can be improvement. One suggestion that I'd like to lift up early would be, and I know there's various stakeholders in this, but to consider making the vote by mail postage paid, because that would also eliminate an additional step in having it sent in. And that's the case across the county, because that's not any particular area, but just again, that extra step is again a deterrent. I think again, as my friend put it, whether it's these, the R's, or the U's, the I's, or the conservatives, or the whatever, one would hope that we would have an interest in higher turnout across the board, particularly in times where, for wherever you want to say it's coming from, democracy as an ideal across the world is under attack. And certainly one way to show that we still believe in it is to do everything we can to have people come out. I would also suggest that, at least when I look at that legal size document as far as the county budget, yes, there's various line items, but there is not a separate budget for each constitutional office. There's line items for the office, but the thing is, of being able to say, well, particular money is coming out of a particular piece, the revenue comes in, and then it goes into the general fund, and then it all comes back out. And I believe that the clerk's office is actually I want to say is still a net revenue generator. I believe that is correct. Not defending any of this part, and whether it was, some of it was a state piece. At the moment, Jerry's explanation has me unsure of that, so I'm not going to push that part.
I'm not unsure about it.
Yeah, I'm not,
You know.
but certainly with an election, one thing that is true for this particular year is that it's the off year, and so it gets the lowest turnout across the board. So things that we can do to encourage more people to come out, I think, would be healthier across the board. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, if I may, to the former councilman there, I mean, are you anticipating that in 2019 there will be a low turnout? Because it all depends on who's at the top of the ticket. Now, I know that the assembly is at the top of the ticket, but it depends on who the candidate is. Now, we run, for example, Jim Bertino for Freehold, right? He's more inclined to get a lot of people out. So we don't want to send a message.
Freeholder Kersey's up this year, so that's huge. That's gonna be huge.
Madam Chair, may I just put some...
You know, seriously, really, what we need to be trying to do is encourage people to get out to vote anyway. A lot of frustration from last year, again, with the ballots coming out and folks were throwing them away, and we got to get people to stay engaged.
Yes.
Hey, Madam Chair, I'll just say that obviously...
Sure, we're getting very far from the agenda item, but
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
but all process needs to be improved.
It does.
But statistically across the board, the year, and it only happens twice every other decade, that the assembly leads the ballot is the lowest of any of the four by comparison. And so things that we could do, and again, we're saying, if we say it in January, we're not saying it for anyone's benefit, hopefully, other than the general public's. But certainly, and again, I would agree with the freeholder process that can be worked on. Thank you.
Thank you.
One last thing, if I may, before I just saw that NJAC is considering filing a lawsuit about this, because they did say it's an unfunded mandate, as I stated earlier. Do we know, Jerry, if they did in fact do that, or did they back off for any reason?
I don't know if they
So-
I can find out.
Yeah, if we can maybe find out and follow through, and I think if we can maybe, I don't know, if we're on agreement, send a letter.
Yeah. Well, let's look
I
at,
support it. It's a waste of taxpayers' money
Yeah.
at this point, so I'm not moving for it anyway.
okay. Any other comments from the public? All right, roll call vote, please.
Bennett,
The pressure. Abstain.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
Gatto.
Under duress, yes. Resolution 29.
Resolution approving the Atlantic County Youth Services Commission updated bylaws as mandated by New Jersey Administrative Code 13:90-2.3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 30.
Acceptance of deeds, easements from various grantors in accordance with Atlantic County planning standards.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 31.
License and hold harmless agreement with Atlantic Care Health Services, Inc. to install, operate, and maintain a force main beneath the county's Delilah Road right-of-way in the township of Egg Harbor.
Second.
Motion and second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 32.
Appointment of Michael Fedorka to the Atlantic County Police Training Advisory Board in a mandated position.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. 33.
Appointment of Patricia L. Gallo to the Atlantic County Advisory Commission on Women for an unexpired term to expire on February 28, 2021.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. 34.
Reappointment of Monica Padovanco Casilio to the Atlantic County Economic Development Advisory Commission for a term to expire on July 1, 2021.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any freeholder comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 35.
Resolution amending Resolution 3 of 2019, adding a meeting on Tuesday, January 15, 2019 at 4 p.m. and informing the newspapers.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. Resolution 36.
Resolution amending Resolution Number 3, 2019, canceling the regular meeting of January 22, 2019, and informing the newspapers.
Motion.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments? Just to mention, both of these are having to do with accommodating the budget schedule, so that's why we're making some moves. Comments from the public? Roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes. 37.
Resolution urging Congress to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act originally passed in 1994, sponsor Freeholder Karen L. Fitzpatrick.
Second.
Motion and a second. Freeholder Fitzpatrick.
Sure, well, the Violence Against Women Act expired on December 21st, when the government shut down, and we urge Congress to reauthorize it. And really, it seems unusual or unacceptable to me that this has to be renewed every so often. This should be a permanent act, and maybe we can work to get a government that will do that for us.
Thank you. Seemed to be a funding issue, is what I read, because of the government shutdown. But yeah.
Well, it was reauthorized in September for a few weeks, and then again on December 3rd. So, okay, maybe funding
Yeah.
or timing
Okay.
as well.
Any other freeholder comments?
Madam Chair?
I saw Bertino's finger in my face first.
No, you just want to go to him because he's from Hammond.
I saw
That's
it.
okay.
My friend from the
Y'all are.
western end, go ahead.
Freeholder Fitzpatrick, the only, and I have no problem generally with it, the only thing I did in researching it, when the original act was presented in 1994, there was some concerns from the ACLU about gender equality in the way the original language was written. The last version of it, which was approved and signed by President Obama in 2013, which is signed the Violence Against Women's Reauthorization Act, took care of a lot of the issues and some of the concerns they had at that time. So your resolution is in support of the original one, and I'm just wondering if you'd consider amending it so that the Reauthorization Act of 2013 follows, so you cover some of those gender issues.
I think that's what we meant, isn't it, Mr. Steedall? Originally passed in 1994, but we would reauthorize the latest version, right?
Well, that would have been the action that Congress would take.
Right.
I just want to make sure it's clear on that, because we didn't want to go approving something that they had some concerns
Yeah.
about.
No, the latest
There was
version.
issues with transgender, there was issues,
Because
that
it's
wasn't
more
originally in the,
inclusive.
yes, it wasn't in the original act.
Generically, they call it the Violence Against Women's Act of 1994.
Okay, but great point.
Doesn't mean that the amendment does not have effect, doesn't mean that at all.
Thanks for bringing that
Thank
to
you.
our attention. Freeholder Corsi.
Madam Chair, if I may, a suggestion to my colleague over there, Fitzpatrick, that perhaps maybe this board, maybe the next meeting, we draft a letter or a resolution, send it to our Congressman, Van Drew, and others, and ask them that they would move forward on it.
Well, I think the, can I answer? Sure. I think the resolution, if it's passed, is sent to
Should
all
be.
of our representatives at that level.
Yeah, I would think we would also want to potentially forward it to our women's advisory board,
Sure.
just so that they're aware of what's happening as well, and could have, hopefully help the advocates as well.
Good idea.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other freeholder comments? Okay, comments from the public? Yes. Jerry, were you raising your hand? Or were you scratching your face?
No,
Okay, all right. I didn't know.
Jerry don't have to raise his hand.
I would have yielded to Jerry. No, okay. Just real quick clarification, Madam Chair. The act in essence is authorization, whereas in the budget is appropriation. And so the only, I think, reason why there's not more of an outcry is that the money in the budget for the various things, including some of the things that were approved today, are separate from the act itself.
Right.
And so that's at least, but now while the government shut down, of course, there's no money for that either. So at least just the clarification on the point was made earlier.
Yeah, this thing wants to fall down.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, roll call vote on this resolution.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi, Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Gatto.
Yes, 38.
Resolution in support of Path to Progress recommendations made by New Jersey Economic and Fiscal Policy Work Group, sponsor Freeholder Karen L. Fitzpatrick.
Moved.
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments or Freeholder Fitzpatrick?
So, we were all invited to this meeting and we brainstormed with Senator Sweeney about, as we said, the state has no money, none, and how are we going to fix that? And the report that they provided talked about pension reform and shared services reform and education reform at the administrative level. And this is what I feel most comfortable talking about. Regionalizing school districts. Where I live in Linwood, we have 4 school districts in a 5-mile span, and it seems a little redundant. And I think that there are other communities like that as well, and I don't know if people are gonna like me saying this, but it's the truth. School taxes are the greatest proportion of taxes that we pay for home property taxes. Additionally, I'm so impressed with the ACIT and what they're doing in allowing students to choose where they want to go to school and focus on a particular curriculum. The report talks about establishing 2 countywide school districts, and I think high schools might be the way to do that, to establish a countywide high school district and have magnet schools that specialize or focus on certain curriculum, like a math school or a science school or an aeronautics school, And those shared services, while sharing and combining things may cause the elimination of administrative positions and possibly even cause the need to reuse those buildings, we have to think outside the box in order to move forward and tackle this problem, because again, we have no money at the state level. And that's why I would like us to support the path to progress that the state is trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
You all?
Any other freeholder comments? Yes, freeholder
Madam
Rizzo.
Chair, thank you. I view this a little differently. I will not be voting in favor of this. A lot of the things in there's a number of recommendations in there, quite a few recommendations. And for us to take each one of them and pick them apart, do the research, would take, quite frankly, an inordinate amount of time and expertise. The verbiage in there regarding tax assessment, I don't like whatsoever because of the research that I've done on the topic. I just think it's too many items tackling all at once. It's up to Mr. Sweeney really to convince the State Assembly and the State Senate, those are the folks that are going to be voting on these changes, not us. So they will be the ones actually considering all this, and I don't want to take on a whole bunch of issues without doing the proper research. So for that reason, and for that reason only, some of the recommendations certainly sound good on the surface, but I've been around long enough to know that a lot of things sound good on the surface, and when you get down in the weeds and you start doing the research, sometimes it doesn't look so good. So for that reason, I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholder Bertina,
Yeah.
sorry.
I won't be supporting the resolution either. There's a bunch of issues, I think, that cause me great concern. Because a lot of the stuff is being talked about by the state, that they're going to appoint commissions, they're going to appoint groups to come up with these ideas on how to fund and how to do. You're asking us to pass a support of a plan that doesn't have any teeth to it at all. There's a bunch of issues in here that I had a real problem with. One was like the county police force. You're sitting on the finance committee. What would it cost for us to provide a county police force to help these municipalities that won't be having a county police force because they're asking the county to step in? What are the costs associated with that? Some of the issues on the education side, if you're merging some of the school districts, and I talked to a couple of school board administrators on my end of the district, and they had some thoughts and concerns and gave me some explicit details why some of the recommendations in there are going to be counterproductive and it's going to cost a lot more. So there's a bunch of issues in it. The concept on shared services, and some of the ones are no-brainers, they're fine. I have no problem with looking at that, as we all do, and any of us that served at the local level have been doing that for years. I think on the western end, you'll see I have communities that gave up their local police departments in Buena Borough. They gave up their court systems. Folsom's sharing with Hamilton Services. So there are opportunities out there that they're looking at to see because it makes financial sense. But as a concept-wise, approving the plan as it is without the state support, because that's where a lot of this planning has to come from, and more detail on how it impacts us as county taxpayers and how we're going to have to pick up some of these issues, I think is a little ahead of the game with me, and I couldn't support it.
Vice Chairwoman.
Now, I was just gonna concur with what John said, but it goes in line with, Freeholder Bertino as well. I think, there's some good ideas in here. There's some that I just think a lot of them, they just still have to be vetted. We have to look at them individually. The state has to look at them and come back with us how it's going to affect us. And we don't really know how some of these are gonna affect us, so we can't vote on them. I cannot vote on them as a whole package.
Any other freeholder comments? Let me go to freeholder Days first.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things, like, again, overall, I mean, obviously, I attended the meeting with Senator Sweeney as well. I mean, overall, again, the shared services, it sounds great, but without having specific legislation in front of me, I can't support something this vague. But there are a couple particulars in this resolution that I have issues with. It talks about unparalleled platinum level benefits provided to public employees. Are we providing them on the county level to our employees? Unparalleled platinum level benefits?
No, I think that the ones he's talking about are for retirees.
Right.
You're talking about retirees, not employees that are still working.
Right, and that recently changed.
They want to downgrade those.
Correct, and they have for a lot of retirees. But again, just the way it was worded, healthcare costs continue to rise, and New Jersey and its local governments cannot sustain the unparalleled platinum level benefits they provide to their employees. That's how it's worded, so.
Sounds like we're talking about the state.
It says New Jersey and its local governments
Yeah.
cannot sustain. And again, pension reform, obviously, you know, being a member of the NJEA, without seeing any specific legislation, I mean, I definitely can't, you know, support. Pension reform is great, and I agree that something does need to change, but that's another case where without seeing any specific legislation, I'm not going to be able to support it.
Okay. Freeholder Fitzpatrick wanted to.
Sure, I just want to respond, and I understand that the specifics you may not agree with or may not be able to support, but this is a path it's not actually drawn out, and there's something called paralysis by analysis. You have to sometimes push forward to do things and look outside the box. That's why I think that this should be supported.
Madam Chair, if I may.
I deferred.
Oh, no, I'm not yielding to him this time. No, ma'am. Okay.
Freeholder Bertino was up next, if you want to yield.
No, I'll yield to the
All right,
Freeholder
Freeholders.
Boise.
She keeps going to the Hamilton side, she's gonna be in a lot of trouble after a while.
Got it over there.
Yeah. Madam Chair,
Sure.
to my colleague, first of all, I need some clarification. Have the state passed anything yet?
That's just a concept.
It's a concept.
Let me finish. Because what I don't want to happen is that we put the cart before the horse. And I know you like to think outside the box, and I do. You know my favorite word. Count to 5. Like what this from here, we need to consider pulling it, do some additional research in terms of reaching out to Senator Sweeney, that whole crew that called that meeting, and at least get an update where they at. Because I'm a firm believer. Some of us like to pontificate, grandstand, whatever you want to call it, but if it's not being really considered on the state level, don't put the locals in a position where they boxed in. And so what happens is that they come to these meetings for all these photo ops and sound good, but when the rubber meets the road, the legislation is not in place yet. And so what happens is we think it's a great idea, and I agree with some of the stuff that's in there. But they haven't done their due diligence in terms of the state. And so I would only ask that maybe you reconsider or either table it, pull it, and let's find out what they're actually doing. Because I don't know any other place around the state has taken up this issue yet. Because we know how folks like to get in front of cameras. And it's like, almost like a preacher. The more you hooping, the more you hear yourself, the more you keep going. So what I'm saying is that they had this big meeting. What have they brought back? They're in charge. When I say they, I'm talking about the Democrats, and I'll take a shot at the Democrats as well as the Republicans. If they really that serious, let's put some legislation up on the state level and move it out. They fighting among themselves anyway right now, but my point is, I don't see the votes.
Can I respond?
Sure.
Thank you. So at the meeting, no media was allowed, so nobody was grandstanding in front of cameras or.
Well, it got out. It was out. I already knew about it. People
But,
talk about it.
so anyway, I support the concept. I think we should support the concept of moving forward and trying to think of new things. And so, no, I don't want to table it. I'm willing to take the vote, and I'm willing to have it voted down, but I support it.
Your resolution, it was just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Freeholder Bertino, did you want to?
Yeah, just the only thing, when they talked about the pension payments and all that, I think all of this is done at the local level. And I remember this conversation back in the 90s in Hamilton, where the town of Hamilton made sure every year in the budget, I made those pension payments on time. And that's one of the things where I get a kick out of the state of New Jersey, when they start talking about legislation and delegation and responsibilities and fiduciary. All those years, they had a choice to fund that budget, and none of them took the opportunity to do it properly. So now we're all in this position, and it's a big snowball effect, like it wasn't gonna happen. I don't know what they were thinking. You don't put the money in place, it's never gonna be there for the retirees that put the money in and made those payments all these years. So I get a kick about them coming back now, telling us about this big crises. They've had this crisis since the 90s, and they knew it was coming. So I agree with the, with Freeholder Corsi's synopsis of them. I think they came out and they're trying to get feedback, and they're looking for people to say, hey, this is the right approach to go, so they can go back and maybe try to sell it amongst themselves. But they gotta deal with that at the state level, I think, first. It gives us something that's concrete, so we understand at this level what the costs are gonna be for us, for the citizens, because we're gonna have to go back and pick up a lot of the services. Because you know as sure as I do, if this would ever get approved, a lot of the responsibility is gonna fall back on county government. And county government's gonna have to talk about personnel, staffing, and everything else that goes along with supporting it. And the responsibility for funding it is gonna fall back on the county taxpayers. And that's only my concern. I wanna know where I'm going before I approve something and vote for it. At least I can go out and say, hey, look, you're gonna get this services in lieu of the cost it's gonna be to you. But at this point, I'm talking about really a nothing to me, unless it's legislation is actually gonna move on it.
Right, there is no legislation,
No,
it's
it's a
just a concept, so that I don't see the harm in supporting the concept and saying, yes, we're willing to think outside the box, brainstorm. They have a website looking for work groups and ideas. I mean, he asked us for anything, that he said, I'm not gonna raise taxes, what's your idea? How can you argue with that?
Well,
But I don't think that you argue with it, Karen Fitzpatrick. I think what happens is that, again, my personal opinion, they should bring it out of some type of committee.
That is actually the.
That's my personal opinion.
yes.
It's okay for us to sit around the table. I'm just saying, again, I agree with the concept, but they haven't even taken it to a committee, haven't even brought it out of a committee for discussion. It comes to communities, but what are they doing on the state level? That's my concern. Because as sore as my name is what it is, and it's been that way for the last 57 years that I know of, the last time I was up here, it was state mandated that we had to have jail reform, and who's paying for it? They came up with the idea, who's paying for it?
We are.
They didn't give us not one dime mandate, we gotta do it, right? We keep jumping on it, but they put the onus back on us. And again, there's a lot of stuff in there I agree with, but until they come out of some type of committee, I mean, I'm gonna tell you straight, I'm not supporting it. I think what they should do is at least bring it to a committee of their choosing, whatever it may be, and then we get a better feel. But don't keep putting it on the local levels for us to carry their water. It ain't gonna happen. That's just me. I can't speak for nobody else, but, and I applaud you for bringing it up, but again, we're doing their bidding, but they haven't even moved it out of committee. Forget moved out of committee, I don't even think they took it to a committee.
Yeah. Nor did we, by the way. I want to say I commend you for the follow-up, and I commend you for your conviction toward it. I think I agree with a lot that's been said here in terms of there's good things in it, there's bad things in it, there's things that need more research, there's things that don't need more research, and I understand your point around analysis paralysis as well. I think if the resolution itself was potentially a little bit more vague in terms of supporting that concept, it might be something that we could look at. I don't think any of us disagree with looking outside the box and looking at new ideas and things like that. But I would want to see us take it topic by topic, because there's so many topics in there that I think it's hard to take it all at once. That's just my opinion. Any other freeholder comments before I go to the public?
No, and again, my takeaway from that meeting was, Senator Sweeney, he's not gonna raise taxes, he kind of threw his hands up and said, here, you guys, look at this.
And we did offer
but the
a lot of
state,
ideas.
he's been throwing up their hands, but we're not, are they looking outside of the box? I mean, he pretty much said that they can't touch anything, there's no money for transit, there's no money for these things. New Jersey's only one of the 3 states in the country where schools are primarily funded through property taxes. I mean, other states fund their schools in a different way. I mean, so talking about priorities, I mean, what are they looking at? I mean, everything, and Freeholder Corsi and Freeholder Patino, right, everything's gonna come back down on the county level or the local level. And again, the state is kind of just passing it along and say, here, you guys deal with it. And he did say that they're gonna have to eventually pass the legislation, because no one's gonna, they're gonna talk it, to death. But it's gonna fall back on us. And again, why are they looking outside the box? I mean, what are they doing to cut their budget or to prioritize things differently? That's just my last comment.
Thanks. Freeholder Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So I certainly understand what everyone else is saying in regards to all of the potential problems. I think the resolution in and of itself is looking to support the path that we are going on, because we have to address it one way or another. We can't just sit there. And I would ask my colleague if she would be interested in amending it to say, express support for the recommendations of the Path for Progress and request additional information and more reports back ongoing, so that we can continue to have them look at these particular issues and continue to address and report back, rather than just taking it at face value.
Can we do that?
But only way that works, only way I would even consider,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Mayor,
Sure.
only way I would even consider something is that we still haven't addressed the issue that the legislators have not even taken it up
Yeah,
in committee. If you want to talk about making an amendment, that's fine, but it ought to say something about them going to a committee and coming out with some other kind of recommendation, funding, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
We can't let them off the hook.
I agree.
Passing a resolution saying we support the concept, that's beautiful, but then what?
Right.
But if we don't hold our state officials accountable, how the hell are people gonna hold us accountable? We keep doing their bidding, and if it's that important to them, and it should be to everybody, let them take it to a committee and come out with some other recommendation, or at least talk about funding to it, or do it step by step, but not lump it all together. That's,
Yeah.
again, that's my personal opinion. Do what y'all wanna do with it. That's the only way I'll support it.
I agree.
Well, I think that, again, it's a concept. They're asking us to join the conversation, and this is the answer, yes, we'll join the conversation, rather than be dictated to. We're gonna have a say in it. And it's not asking for any money, it's not asking for any specific proposals. It's saying, yes, we are amiable to support this new way of looking at things.
Well,
But
that's how I see
if
it.
I may, the book, the Path to Progress book that we got has specific proposals in it, and that's what I'm understanding. You're saying we're gonna support those specific proposals.
It's in here.
So I think that's where the issue is, because there are a lot of recommendations in there, a lot. All the way from the comments you were making about school administration, reform in that arena, to tax assessment, to pension, I mean, it's a huge umbrella of issues. That's why I'd rather take them one by one as they come down with legislation.
But would it be fair to say that you have involved in the conversation? And it's fair to say that you are voicing your concern. I'm only saying to you is that at the end of the day, they are asking a lot from the locals, but what are they really gonna do? They can have all the conversations in the world and all the dialogue, but when the rubber meets the road, then what? I mean, again, I support a lot of the stuff that's in there, but I'm not comfortable in terms of allowing them to just come out, put out something and that's it. Where are the legislators at? I mean, a handful of them are talking about, that's it. You got some kind of committees to go to. Take it to the committee. Let's hear back from them. They're not really discussing this on the state level. And if it is, it's very quiet. And if there are discussions, where are they? I mean, we talk about legalizing marijuana, that's all over the state. Everybody's having a discussion about it. Everybody knows about it, right? I'm not saying it's a bad idea, Karen. I'm just saying that we need more from them in order to do it. And again, I'll support it if we're gonna hold their feet to the fire. It has to go, they have to take it to their committee for something. Not a couple of senators and a couple assembly people want to get together in front of people and make themselves sound good, but the masses of them, they're not engaged in it. That's what I get from it.
I hear it a different way.
Okay. Freeholder Bennett wants to make one more comment.
Sure. Thank you. Would we would you be amendable to including an amendment that would ask them to take it to the committee and report back?
Yes. Can we do that?
I think it has to be, amended pretty significantly, because there's a lot of detail in here. So
Okay.
my recommendation would be, let's work on it.
Okay.
And you know, as Freeholder Corsi suggested, potentially, you know, table it for now and work on it and maybe get it to a place that, we've heard all, it was good discussion. I think talking about having the discussion, you've done that, so I think it was good discussion, maybe we take that and work with that.
Madam Chair, I don't want to, thank you, I don't want to belabor the point at all, but, you know, the process is the state legislature, and the state senate, the state assembly, they have a bill, they have it in committee, they air it out in different committees, they hash it out, they talk about it. It goes in different steps and different processes. I have spoken against and for bills in Trenton for a number of years. And, you know, once the bill is issued, you talk about it, you have this discussion, then eventually it goes to the Appropriations Committee, all right? Where's the money gonna come from to fund this bill, all right? So that's another step in the process. So I would rather wait, as Freeholder Corsi says, let them propose a bill for whatever the topic may be. And then we can have a discussion on it. Once we know what the topic is, I don't want to get involved in a basket full of issues. That's how I feel.
Okay. All right, I think we've heard all of us. I'm gonna go to public comment. Any public comment on this issue? Great.
Oh, Madam Chair,
I'm
before
sorry.
you go to public comment, if I may,
Sure.
I just wanted to conclude, I could reserve the balance of my time, but I want to, if I may, use it. To my colleague, Fitzpatrick, I'm wondering if you would consider, there's really no rush to get this done, it's not time sensitive, and that at the end of the day, I think we have begun the dialogue and the discussion. It gives us some more meat and potatoes to go back to talk about. And so, again, I would suggest that we pull it or table it and come back with some additional information. It's not time sensitive, that's basically what I'm telling you. And at the rate it's going now, there's not enough votes. And
I'll contact his office and ask for more information.
okay, but the question, in doing that, are you willing, or will you consider tabling or pulling it?
So I think you would just need to rescind your motion.
Okay, how do I do that?
Just say I'd like to rescind.
I'd like to rescind my motion.
And rescind the second.
And any second.
I rescind the second.
Okay.
Right, so at this point then, the status is that it has not been moved,
Correct.
and consequently, there's no action to be taken by the board. So it dies as an agenda item that was not acted upon.
Okay. So therefore, we don't have public comment. Okay, so moving to resolution 38. I'm sorry, 39.
Resolution commending Buena Regional High School wrestler Andrew Johnson, sponsor Freeholder Ernest D. Corsi and Freeholder Ashley R. Bennett.
Move.
Second?
Motion and a second. Freeholder comments. Freeholder Corsi, you want to start?
Madam Chair, I'm going to keep it real brief. We talked about this at the reorg meeting. We feel Freeholder Bennett and I were at the public special meeting at Buena Vista High School. I still say it was a disgrace, an embarrassment, to say the least, and to humiliate this young man on national TV to make a split decision. Either cut your dreads or you forfeit the match. And I think we continue to send the message, it is unacceptable. It's funny, I said this, we went after, I'm repeating the same thing, but we went after Holy Spirit at the basketball game with the monkeys and the banana outfit. We went against the mainland regional when the girl was on the jitney by herself and the guy made the racial slur. So it's not that we're picking on Buena, it's that we say it's unacceptable. And as elected officials, we need to send the message loud and clear. We do not tolerate it, and action must be taken. Whether against that referee, I know the school district itself can't do it, other than to say, you're not welcomed here to referee any game at this particular time. But it's a state issue, And I think the state needs to do the right thing. And if you remove this person, that's fine. But it is clear, it's been said, his undertone of racial slurs anyway. And so by passing this resolution, I think we need to send it to the necessary agencies to let them know where this board stands on this particular issue. But again, I want to commend this young man who, in all that humiliation, it was important to him that he finished his match, and he did. And it could have gotten a whole lot ugly, but it didn't. And he needs to be commended. And to the our clerk had raised a good point with me today. I remiss that I did not invite the family here today to receive it. Maybe at some future date we can get them to come to the Freeholder board. So, with that, if you don't mind, I yield to.
It was probably a practice. Yeah, Freeholder Bennett, did you want to add to that?
Thank you. I too echo your sentiments in terms of this was an absolute disgrace. And as adults, our role is to protect children, and the humiliation that we all got to witness that went viral is simply unacceptable, and it's something that we cannot tolerate. But being that said, the amount of courage and perseverance that this young man displayed, as even being as viral and becoming that public, just speaks to his character and his commitment to his team. And so we commend him, and it should not have happened, but nevertheless, we do commend his character and his spirit. So.
Freeholder comments. Vice Chair.
I just also want to say, in reading all the articles and everything that's out there, I commend his family as well. The way his family has reacted, to the whole situation, how they have, so I commend them as well, and the way
Freeholder Days.
Yeah, I just, I knew that he won the match, but I think that it's mentioned in here, and also that it specifically says that we want to compliment his character, composure, and teamwork for that. And I mean, just like that's included in this as well. The fact that he won, and because like you said, it could have gotten ugly pretty quickly. And I saw the video as well. He is to be commended on how he handled it. And, I don't know what he was thinking, and he probably had to swallow a lot down, but to be able to go on and to win the match as well is quite impressive.
As the old boy told me, if that had been 20 years ago, it'd been a whole new ball.
Any other freeholder comments? Comments from the public? Okay, hearing none. I just want to say too, I'm glad you highlighted that section, Freeholder Dace, around highlighting his character, composure, and teamwork decision for his team's benefit. He's not the first one that's had to cut his hair on the mat, regardless of race or whatever. Some kids have to make that decision every week in wrestling, and for whatever reason. But it takes a lot for somebody that age to make that quick decision and do it. So I'm glad we're celebrating that fact. So.
Well, Madam Chair, it's funny you would say that. First, I'm aware that it had not been the first one, and probably won't be the last one, but I blame a lot of this on the referee. First of all, his behind would have been on time, and at the weigh-in, a lot of that would have been prevented. However, he has been wrestling all week and all through the school, and nobody. All of a sudden it became an issue.
Right.
He needed to be held accountable because he gets paid to be at the weigh-in. And he was late. And to humiliate a 16-year-old kid and talk about that was his decision. Give me a damn break. Let that have been my kid.
All right, with that, we'll have a roll call vote.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino.
Yes.
Coursey.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Gatto.
Yes. That concludes the written portion of our agenda. We will go into reports of special committees of the board. Are there any special reports at this time? Okay, seeing none, do we have any unfinished business?
I have a question.
Fitzpatrick.
At the end of the summer last year, we had asked Mr. Fedorko to provide the cost analysis between the private security firm and the sheriff's officers providing security. And the deadline was supposed to be the end of the year. Have we gotten it?
I was asking about that, and as I understand it, I don't know that the analysis is complete from the sheriff's side, but I don't know all of the facts. So we can certainly ask for that and ask for an update for next meeting. Okay?
Madam Chair, before
Yes.
you move off that,
Sure.
I think that was somewhat accurate, because I think when I raised that question regarding private security in the sheriff's department, I also asked to look into class 3s. And I think that was a part of that same conversation, and I'm still waiting.
And where's our guy today? He's not here.
Yeah,
But,
but that's different, he's from a different,
No, I mean our,
correct, but he's not from the sheriff's department.
right.
But going on, what you're saying is, I still asked about what it would cost for class 3s. Also, and we still waiting on that too. So it should be a report at
Yes.
some point, Jerry, from our public safety department.
Jerry, if you could, if we could work on that for a future agenda, that would be appreciated. Okay?
Before I know it, that new contract will be coming up for the outside contract, outside security again.
I mean, just for the sake of argument, public safety can't put that together, I mean, because we don't hire class 3s, it would be the sheriff's office that hires the class.
That's why we mentioned it, that's exactly why we mentioned the
Right.
sheriff's department, Jerry.
Right, right,
The outside contractor,
Right.
and what it would cost
right.
for class 3s. And you're correct, the public safety can't do that, but
Yeah.
he was supposed to get a meeting together with Sheriff
Right.
Scheffler
Right.
to discuss that. I don't know if it ever happened.
They've had meetings, I'll get you the result of those meetings.
Okay,
Thank you.
Is
thanks.
that my committee? I'll just call me.
I think it's you.
I'll let Jerry handle it first.
All right, any other unfinished business? Yes, Vice Chairwoman.
I have one, I'm not sure, it is unfinished, but it's not new, and it's not old. The rail. I think we need to stay on top of this train issue and the rail. I know people are saying things are waiting until the end of the month. I don't know where we stand on that. I don't know if you've had any conversations yet.
Yeah, I actually reached out to Senator Chris Brown, who had initially had the meeting and conversation with Director Corbett on that topic, because I was confused. There was that article that was out, I think, last week, saying like it's status quo, which it's not status quo because nothing's running, but whatever. So I reached out to ask, and as he has said before, you know, the conversation with Director Corbett was, you know, it could be end of January, potentially, you know, through early March, which is unacceptable. So I've asked our clerk to draft a letter on our behalf, asking for an update and a date on an proposed opening date on a regular basis, and I told her if we need to send it every day, I'm fine with that. So,
Keep in mind, Madam Chair, that Assemblyman Mazzio Amato, in conjunction with Senator Brown, has been on this issue for a long time. Just
Yes.
last week, this conversation with Assemblyman Amato, Mazzio, and the governor's office, and the gentleman from New Jersey Transit. And it's unacceptable. We were, not all of us, but we were at that press conference. And the first thing they told us was gonna be January 1.
absolutely.
Everybody up and down the state's back online.
With new equipment.
But, right, and we're still
Upgraded
sitting there
equipment, I should say.
like the forgotten train line,
Yeah,
and we just can't sit idle, because like I said, it affects whether it's the teachers' convention, the league of municipalities, people coming in for regular convention, or people coming to work every day.
I hear it every day.
And every day you hear, and we got a rail sitting over there, you spend millions of dollars building it, now it just sits there because we're playing politics and not policy. And take the politics out and make it what it's supposed to be and put it back online. You met the criteria, you got everything online to move forward with an extension to do other stuff, get us back running.
Yeah, and an explanation why. I mean, all we're hearing is delays, but not why.
Right.
No explanation, we have nothing to tell our constituents.
yes.
Just one last thing, Mr. Corbett said to me, I don't know if anybody else heard him say that, the scheduling would be enhanced
Right.
as to how it was originally. What
Yes.
he said was with a cherry on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
We still
that,
waiting
that
for the
was,
enhancement and the cherry on top.
that was in the letter to Senator Brown as well, if you saw that letter too, so. So I'm gonna send the letter, and we'll keep on it.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Any other unfinished business? I see no new business. Any new business? Okay, seeing none. Any written communications and petitions? Seeing none. We'll now open up the meeting for public comments. Anyone that would like to speak, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Green, come on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Creed Code, 169 Comando, Estelle Manor. Going back to Resolution 38, when I saw the Schoolhouse Rock video on how a bill becomes a law, and I've seen it a few times, what I recall is that it's constituent, it's citizen groups that go to our legislators to make suggestions. I think for all of us, no matter, again, going back to Freeholder Corsi's construction, Ds, Rs, Is, Us, etc., I don't think any of us find ourselves in agreement with the Senate President all the time. Sometimes, more often than not, one way or the other, or major issues one way or the other. But certainly should be commended for starting that conversation. And I would say to Madam Chairman, the comment came from Freehold from the 4th District. There's the question of revenue, and there's a question of appropriation. And there's $22 billion a year that is raised through the property tax for education in the state of New Jersey. I think many of us, and I'm happy to hear it's a bipartisan agreement, that's way too high of a percentage of how we do it. But that is with all respect, that is a separate question than where's the money being spent. The path to progress ideas are on how we spend it. And I think that having a discussion on figuring out what to do with, should that 22 billion be changed, as far as how it's distributed amongst the various taxing right now, whether it shall be property tax or something else, is another point of discussion, but not a path to progress type question, because you're trying to figure out what the mandates are going to be from the state and how that can help. And so if there's an effort being made to do that, I would hope instead that when this comes up next, it probably won't be the 15th and that won't be the 22nd, so hopefully it will be sooner rather than later. Even if it's a thing of taking, here's things you agree with, because if you wait until something already gets drafted and goes through committee, at that point your option is basically to just applaud or to say, oh my goodness, that's the worst thing that's ever happened. And to be in a constant situation of, well, that's the worst thing that's ever happened, we can't do anything about it other than complain, isn't really constructive either, with all due respect. And so if there's a chance to say, okay, out of those number of suggestions, here's 10 things on a bipartisan basis we can agree on, and here's another 10 that will agree to disagree, or whatever. I would hope that that would be a spirit to go forward with. Otherwise, we're going to wind up in somewhat the same situation as we are 3 hours down the road here, where people just can't come to agreement and people change the goalposts and we just don't get very far. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, anything for the good of the order?
Madam Chair, if I may?
Sure.
A couple of things. One is that I want to have a moment of silence for the late Ed Calanzi, who was one of the first, well not first, but was one of the commissioners in Atlantic City before we changed over and went to council, mayor form of council government. Commissioner Calanzi was a member of the water company in Atlantic City. He was an icon in Atlantic City, and he passed away a couple of days ago. The service was held on Saturday, and we certainly want to acknowledge and a moment of silence in his memory.
Sure. If I may add to yesterday, in Galloway Township, former councilman Tom Schertz passed away yesterday morning. He was a long-time actually retired educator from Absegami High School, and most recently Assumption Catholic School, where he was also assisting with the drama program. So Tom passed away yesterday morning. So we can include him in our thoughts as well.
Absolutely. Take a moment. Thank you.
Thank you. my second thing, Madam Chair, you'd like to use that gavel too.
Just ending the moment, that's
Yes,
all.
ma'am, you're doing a fine job. Madam Chair, through you to the county executive, to the county administrator, who's the county executive? The administrator. Jerry, I had the opportunity to go through the new facility that we built out by the airport. Actually, I went there 4 times a day en route to the airport, but I went there. The facility is very nice. Any update in terms of tenant? When are we doing the tour, et cetera, over there?
Well, let me say this to you, they are working on language for leases. I don't know whether I'm allowed to, release that information. I mean, if Howard was here, Howard would be able to
Okay,
tell you
wait.
what's public and what's not public.
Okay.
Yeah, they are working on language for the leases, yes. And that's for the building, so what was the second question? Now, I can do this, I can also tell you, you're doing the fit out, I think that's public knowledge for FAA. So they are doing a fit out for, FAA will be in that facility, so they are doing that now.
I did, like I said, 4 times. One day I looked in the window,
Right.
downstairs looks great.
Right.
They got the tables and chairs and it looks great.
Right.
But I certainly like to, I can't speak for them, I like to do a tour.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll mention it to Howard. If
Yeah.
the board like to do it, I'll ask Howard to. We had a department head, division director meeting there. It was gorgeous. So it's gorgeous. Then they walked us through the building.
They're in there.
Very, very nice, yeah. I don't know if you've been through it, but
Yeah.
it's gorgeous.
If you could set it up, I appreciate it.
I'll do that.
I mean, my colleagues may want to go through it.
Yeah. I think the other issue is, you haven't mentioned anything about what they call a slip ramp. I call it it's the road off of, road north to Tilton Road off of Amelia Earhart Drive.
Circle.
Taking it.
So at the airport circle, the county, as you know, went into a joint venture with South Jersey Transportation Authority, and we pay 50% of that ramp. But that takes all the traffic going north on Tilton off of the circle itself.
Takes it away from the signal.
Yeah.
They did a beautiful job there.
People go around the circle, go to the next light, and go across the view, right?
All right.
Okay.
Anything else for Freeholder Corsi?
I yield my time.
Okay, somebody over here put their hand up. Okay,
I
go
just
ahead.
have, I did, in 2015, New Jersey established January as Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And I'm going to do a resolution as I did last year, but January 11th is designated as Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So I wanted to bring that up today so everyone is aware of that. There's a lot of information out there and prevention information on the New Jersey Human Trafficking.org site. They have it for schools, they have it for municipalities and communities as well. But I'll bring some more of that back at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anything else before we go to the order? Okay, I just want to mention, I did meet with the new owners of Renault Winery in Egg Harbor City / Galloway on
I'm not surprised.
New Year's Eve. They had a meet and greet, and they are really a great group of investors that have come together, and they're very energetic. They're going to totally transform it back to its original French roots. It will be called, I think, Chateau Renault, no longer Renault. But they have a lot of really great plans, a lot of really great energy. They're working very well with the governing bodies in Egg Harbor City and Galloway. And I'm trying to get them engaged with the Atlantic County Economic Authority as well as the Atlantic County Improvement Authority to help them on kind of multiple levels as they are trying to get going. So, take it right out there, check it out. They are open. And like I said, lots of really great plans there, so I think it's going to be a nice tourist attraction for us here in the county. It's something to watch.
It's funny that you say that.
Getting them
That's,
involved and the
Yeah.
CIA involved.
Yeah.
that's good news, but the sad news is that we're losing Ramsey Inn.
I know.
An icon in this town, community. Folks are, like you said, are booking, trying to find other places to book weddings, receptions, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe someone will come down and be an investor there.
Yeah.
Good location.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, my family and I went there after reorg on Tuesday.
That's why they
And then
closed
we got
down.
the
It was your
news.
fault.
We were like,
It was
what
your
is
fault.
happening?
Did you put them out of business?
I'm not saying it's not.
Township Council has met with the managing family there to try to work some things out with them, and there are discussions, I mean, I don't know
Great. That's good.
if there's anything that can be done, but they're
talking. Yeah, I know one of the biggest issues was sprinklers or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe they can work something out.
All right, if nothing else for the good of the order,
Motion for adjournment.
take a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?